выпустил, поэтому дверь была не заперта.
Hey guys, this is Unmarried Master back for another what if. This is gonna be what if Asta had the solo leveling system. Last we left off was Asta getting his 4-leaf grimoire and getting a lot stronger. In the end, his strength stats were 35 and his all the stats I left in the last video, and he increased his mana stat from 2 to 7, 2 to 7. So he has 35 mana, and now he has he's used the last one, and he has 55 mana, no 60 mana, which is which allows him to use the legendary boost for like 15 seconds, and also he's able to use the psychokinesis for like couple of minutes. No, he's able to move like 100 kg and up to 150 kg now. So he enters the dungeon. Soon as he steps in, he smells vulgar rotting, a smell of raw flesh, and he hears like almost like skeleton-like being. He can see skeleton-like beings with beet red eyes coming towards him. On his right, he sees basically boxers, and his special reward for last day's training was a sword that was enhanced by wind magic. So he pulls it out. At first, it seemed really small, and he was thinking it might be a dagger, but when he pulled it out, it was about the size of the Demon Dweller sword. So after he read the description, he just swung the sword, which pretty much cut like all the skeletons in two, and gave him a lot of XP, which allowed him to level up to level 5. And he decides not to do anything with his skill points just yet, and he carries on. Next room is filled with zombie-like creatures and instead of them being slow and just reacting to sound and just anything, they surrounded Asta and attacked him. One attack from behind, one from front. Asta was able to react and basically bent back, almost touching his head almost touching the floor, and on his way up, he swung his sword and cut the 2 zombies in two, and another 3 came out, and one of which used magic. He casted a fireball spell, and Asta, seeing a box, no, seeing a large boulder, uses his psychokinesis to move. Is it telekinesis or psychokinesis? Let me know. And he moves the boulder in front of the fireball. which the fireball blows up the boulder into bits. Asta rushes the zombie who used um, the magic, and he defeats him with one shot as usual. And he defeats the other two. Swing one swing from the right, one swing from the left. Then he sees a torch on the wall, and he sees the one of something is burning over there, and he basically lights up the torch and carries it around so he can see better. Then he gets to the third room, which has skeletons and zombies, and both are equipped with armor and swords. There's also archers and mages in the back. Asta first goes for the archers, and there's only like two, but they're on each side. So he defeats every zombie and skeleton that comes in the way. He defeats the skeleton archer first, and he defeats the zombie archer after. Then he goes for the mages, which he defeats pretty easily without any trouble, knowing the speed and power. Then he goes after the skeleton zombies, and after defeating them all, he levels up like 10 times after the three um, rooms, and now he has 30 points to spend. He decided not to spend them, and he moves on to the next room with a giant door, and it had a skeleton. If you've seen Bleach, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those giant gates that appear to take an evil soul back uh, to hell. Basically, it was that, but black instead of it being red. And when Asta opened it, and he was actually scared to open it. When Asta opened it, he sees a giant skeleton a sitting on a chair, and there was many skeletons surrounding it on the ground. Asta is ready for a fight. Then the basically, giant skeleton's eyes glow green instead of them being beet red, which gives Asta. Then Asta thinks he might be difficult to defeat, so he decides to attack it later and take care of the underlings first. He defeats a lot of the skeletons first, and they're all defeated. And after, when Asta is about to attack the giant skeleton, basically it revives the rest of them, and it was a healer. So Asta basically goes, and instead of this time focusing on the miniature zombies, now made the skeletons, he goes for the giant one. He pretty much attacks its legs. First time he wasn't able to cut it because he just tried to hit it lightly, but it didn't work. So Asta put his full power behind the next blow, and it basically cut right through the it cut right through the bones of the skeleton, and it fell face first, and Asta then sees something glowing in his chest. He cuts the skeleton's ribs and pulls the glowing thing out, and the skeleton basically dies, and all the skeletons around it also they basically turn to ash. And Asta thought he heard someone say thank you, and he sees that there's another small door, but first he looks at the thing he pulled out. It says a giant skeleton core. Then he he thought, where should I put it? Then he remembered there was this thing called inventory. So he opens his grimoire and the windows come up again, and Asta his puts the giant skeleton core in there and decides to move on to the next door. He opens a small door. There's a instead of there being like one one thing, there's a zombie and a giant skeleton and giant zombie combined with each other. Basically, they have two heads, and one is a zombie, and one side is a zombie, one side is a skeleton. And a quest pops up: defeat the boss of this dungeon, and you'll get uh, more rewards and more points. And also, the Asta basically defeats. First, he rushes in without thinking. The zombie head basically fires some sort of laser at Asta, which almost hit his legs, and he jumped back, and he decides he decides not to he decides to make a plan like he did last time. So this time around he goes and throws using telekinesis. He throws a giant boulder that was behind. He removes something that was blocking the giant boulder, which rolls out and hits the the giant skeleton, the giant hybrid skeleton and zombie. Then Asta rushes towards the skeleton side of the boss and cuts its leg, but he wasn't even with using all of his strength. He wasn't even able to give it a scratch. Then they pull out a sword. The zombie side pulls out a sword, and the skeleton side pulls out a staff. The skeleton does a fire, uses fire magic as a basically makes a spear with fire magic, and he Asta then decides to use his legendary boost, which boosts his abilities even more, and Asta basically runs past, dodging the fireball and slicing through the skeleton's leg. Then he strikes the zombie's leg. Then he sees the core from the skeleton side, and he cuts right in the middle to get through to it. He gets through, but the zombie side starts to heal. Then he decides not to get the core. He just needs to slice off the arms and head. First he slices off the arms, then the heads, so they can't get up and they can't do anything. Then Asta basically carves out the core and pulls it out, which instantly kills and obliterates the boss. A message pops up saying you have cleared the dungeon. Now use this and now move on to the next room to collect your rewards and go out the dungeon. Asta moves out the dungeon and he goes to the next room and sees a chest there filled with so it has uh, it has a katana and some armor and he decides to put it on and no he decides to put it all in his inventory, and there's some money as well. So Asta then clicks, there's another door and on top of it says leave the dungeon, and after getting everything he leaves the dungeon, and when he gets out he's level 25 and he's got like 75 points to put in. He puts like 25 of them in mana, which surprising to him increases his mana like from 75 and from 60 to 250. But at first he thought it would take, he put 25 in, and when he did this it basically increased the mana a lot, being it's so high level. And then Asta puts some in his already really strong body, and so he puts 10 into his 10 into his strength, 10 into his endurance, 10 5 into his 5 into his intelligence, and 10 into his agility, and the rest he puts in health, no mana control. Rest he puts in mana control, and he also in his inventory he has like 3 scrolls. One has fire magic on it, one has wind magic, no wind magic, I mean water magic, and one has explosion magic. And it says in the description you must have water and fire magic to obtain the explosion magic. So he learns fire magic and the water magic. Then he learns um, explosion magic. And he also got he pulls out the katana and he puts away all of his armor. No, he puts on all of his armor, but there's an option to hide it, so he hides it. And then he heads back to the church. To Asta, it looked like he only been in there for 2 hours, but he was in there for 3 days, and the church was really worried about him, and everyone was when he got back, everyone got really happy, and Sister Lily had tears in her eyes when she saw him. And I'll be ending this part here today. And if you liked, leave a like, subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.